Hillary Clinton tries to lead the resistance, Kanye goes to the White House, and we tell the tale of James, a student at the University of California, Davis, with a wild, wild tale. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. Well, howdy doody. We have lots of news to get to today. First, a couple announcements. First, join me tonight at my next YAF speech in Memphis, Tennessee, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. I will be dismantling the left's arguments one by one, as per my usual arrangement. The event is not live streamed, so you're actually going to have to show up in person. Don't miss your chance to come and watch it in person. It should be a blast. Also, if you're watching all of the news about the midterm elections, you know that great uncertainty is attached to elections. And how those elections go may mean something for your financial future. Well, if you are concerned, one way to mitigate downside risk is ensuring that you are diversified financially. And that means having at least a little bit of your money in precious metals. That's why I talk to the folks over at Birch Gold. Birch Gold provides you a hedge against inflation, a hedge against uncertainty. And not only that, they're really good at what they do. Right now, thanks to a little-known IRS tax law, you can even move your IRA-eligible 401k into an IRA backed by physical gold and silver, which is perfect for folks who want to protect their hard-earned retirement savings from future uncertainty, like the uncertainty of the midterms. Look back historically when the bottom falls out. Gold is a good place to have some of your money. Birch Gold Group has thousands of satisfied customers, countless 5-star reviews, an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Right now, contact Birch Gold to request a free information kit on physical precious metals. Ask all your questions, and then once you have your answers, then talk to my friends at Birch Gold about investing. Again, they will give you that free comprehensive 16-page kit showing how gold and silver can protect your savings. Go check them out at birchgold.com/Ben, birchgold.com/Ben. Well, it is important to note that in the aftermath of the Brett Kavanaugh saga, Republicans have been gaining ground across the board in the Senate. In the House, things still are way too close to call. It is not clear at this point that Republicans lose the House, although the smart money suggests that they probably will. With that said, all the Senate polls that have come out since the Brett Kavanaugh saga have been terrible for Democrats. I'm talking about Martha McSally in Arizona, who was down 5 to 7 points in that race, suddenly is up 6 points according to a new poll, which is wonderful because Martha McSally will be quite a good senator from the state of Arizona. In Tennessee, the state in which I currently sit, that state has now turned strongly toward Marsha Blackburn. Phil Bredesen, on the heels of a Taylor Swift endorsement, has plummeted in the polls. He's now down to the 30s, according to some polls, and Marsha Blackburn has pulled convincingly into the lead. Claire McCaskill remains extraordinarily vulnerable in Missouri, so it looks like Republicans could, in fact, in this election, lose seats in the House and pick up some significant seats in the Senate, which makes a big difference, because it means that if you have a 4 or 5 vote majority in the Senate, next time Republicans have a judicial pick. If Ruth Bader Ginsburg retires for some reason, or if, God forbid, something's her health-wise, well, then Republicans will have the opportunity to replace her with a strong conservative, a strong textualist, most importantly, like Amy Coney Barrett, which would be just unreal, right? And that's a significant possibility if the elections go the way they seem to be going right now. Now, the reason that this shift has happened is not because of President Trump. It's not because of the Republicans. It is simply because the Democrats have bared their fangs. The Democrats have decided that they are going to look as ugly and terrible as humanly possible in public as often as possible. It's so funny because the Democrats, after losing to President Trump, decided that what they really needed to do was be more off-putting. They look at President Trump and they see that his popularity ratings are in the low 40s, and they thought, well, you know what? If we could imitate that but do it worse, right? So we won't have the kind of blue-collar appeal of President Trump. We won't have the sort of personal charisma of President Trump. Just be insanely off-putting and terrible all the time. Maybe that will win us power again. And it doesn't seem like it is working. The media are doing their best to try and cover for this. So you have this conflict that is now happening, this gaslighting that is happening, where Democrats are openly stating, that they are in favor of mob politics, that they are fine with mob politics. They are fine with people showing up at restaurants and yelling at people. They are fine with people trying to beat down the 13-ton bronze doors at the Supreme Court. They are fine with folks screaming at senators in elevators. They are fine with all of these things. All these things are just dandy. And then you have folks in the media saying, no, Democrats aren't saying that. There are no mobs. That's not real. Why would you think that the mob stuff is real? And those of us with a brain are going, well, because Democrats said so out loud repeatedly. And then the folks in the media say, no. You're not allowed to listen to what Democrats say. The only mobs that exist are Republican mobs. And we say, well, name them. And they say, well, Charlottesville. I say, well, no, that's not a Republican mob. What are you even talking about? In any case, let's begin today with Hillary Rodham Clinton, who will not go away. She is like just a bad case of genital herpes. She just will not leave. And she remains on the political scene, really torturing everyone, Democrat and Republican. I'm not sure there are that many Democrats who are extraordinarily excited about Hillary Clinton still being around. Again, there's a basic principle in American politics, which is that after you lose a presidential election, we really don't want to hear from you pretty much ever again. Hillary Clinton, however, does not know this rule. So she continues to appear in the media and say silly things. What you have to love about Hillary Clinton, I really mean this, what you have to love about her is that she is utterly transparently mechanical. It's like removing the face of a clock. You can see all the gears working in real time. So, for example, yesterday she was on CNN and she was asked specifically about civility. Now, we all know that Hillary is not the nicest human being. And that's not a great shock. But Hillary was also the person who kept saying during the 2016 election, every time they go low, we go high. When they go low, we go high. Right? That was her routine during the 2016 election. Well, now she's changed her tune. Why has she changed her tune? Because she realizes that the passion of the base is not with civility. The passion of the base is not with decency. The passion of the base is with yelling and screaming and kicking on the floor like my 2.5-year-old son when I tell him he's not allowed to push Emily at school. Right? That's how the Democratic base is responding to the latest round of politics. She knows that. And so Hillary, being transparently manipulative and political, has started to try to personality mirror. Now, there's certain people in our office, I won't name names like Michael Knowles, who are excellent at personality mirroring. This is just something that they do. It's like a natural quality. If you talk to Michael Knowles and you are jovial, he will be jovial. If you talk to Michael Knowles and you're in a bad mood, he will be in a bad mood. Like Michael Knowles has a unique capacity to mirror human personality. It's one of the things that makes him roguishly likable, is that he mirrors personality quite well. Well, Hillary Clinton is really bad at it. Hillary Clinton tries to do it, but fails. So she's supposed to be trying to sort of encompass the rage of her own base here. But it's so mechanical that you can see all the gears moving, and it's sort of to see all the gears moving because you can see, once again, why she lost. Here's Hillary Clinton explaining that Democrats should not be civil with Republicans. That the time for civility is over, which makes you wonder, when was the time for civility not over? And I was here for the Obama administration when the IRS was militarized against conservative 501c3 groups. I was here for the Obama administration when they were cramming down a horrific Iran deal that put our allies in danger, and then lying to the American public about it, and then chortling over lying. I was here for the Obama years when Barack Obama went out in public and made excuses for rioting in Ferguson and Baltimore. So I'm not sure what Hillary Clinton is talking about when she says the era of civility is over. But here's Hillary Clinton saying, we don't need to be civil anymore because we disagree with Republicans. And why would you be civil with people with whom you disagree?
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and or the Senate, that's when civility can start again.
So in victory, civility. So civility can start again when we dominate you and put our boot on your throat. That's when civility makes a comeback. Now, what's funny about this is that her premise, that you can't be civil to a party that wants to destroy all the things that you stand for, that's the premise of party politics in the United States. There's not a lot unifying the Democratic and Republican parties right now. They both want to destroy what the other party stands for. That does not remove the requirement to be civil. Now, I think Republicans understand this much better than Democrats do, or at least did until 2016. The great untold story of the last 25 years is that Democrats categorized every Republican as evil and nasty and bigoted and homophobic and racist and all of these terrible things. And finally, Republicans responded in 2016 by saying, you know what? Screw you two. We're done. And I have a chart to prove it. So here's a chart from Jonathan Haidt's new book about polarization in American politics. And here's what it shows. It's partisan hatred for the other party. And you will see that the lighter line, if you're watching this, you can see the lighter line shows that folks who hate the Democratic Party, Republicans who hate the Democratic Party, and the darker line shows Democrats who hate the Republican Party. What you will see is that until 2016, Democratic hate for the Republican Party was higher or equal to hate from Republicans for Democrats every year since 1980. Right? That's the actual trend line here. What you see in this trend line is that since 1980, when Ronald Reagan won election, Democratic hatred for the Republican Party skyrocketed and was significantly higher than Republican hatred for the Democrats all the way up until 1995 or so. Then they sort of drew even, and they basically are right on top of each other. And then after George W. Bush was elected, then Democratic hatred for the Republican Party skyrocketed again and remained higher. This is the part that's amazing. It remained higher than hatred for the Democratic Party by Republicans all the way until 2016, which means even after Barack Obama was elected, Democrats still hated Republicans more than Republicans hated Democrats, which shows you that Republicans, in the end, really believe, I think, they believe and have believed this for decades, that Democrats are wrong but not evil, and Democrats believe that Republicans are both wrong and evil. And in 2016, Republicans finally said, listen, you guys think that we're evil? Well, that makes you evil. We're done with this, right? You're going to say that you hate us just for partisan reasons? Well, we hate you right back. You can go shove it. We are not interested in playing this game with you anymore. That's what's happened. So the media only noticed this around 2016 because the media are partisan Democrats. The folks in the media only noticed that Republican hatred for Democrats had skyrocketed in 2016 because for the first time it was evident that that was the case. Because until then, Democratic hatred for Republicans always had exceeded Republican hatred for Democrats. And the media were part of that problem. The media were forwarding that hatred. The media were cheering it on. It was the media declaring that George W. Bush was a war criminal. It was the media declaring that the Tea Party were a bunch of terrorists. It was the media declaring that the Tea Party were a bunch of mob thugocracy fans. Right? This was their claim. And then in 2016, Republicans won, partially by saying, okay, fine, we will activate the hatred within, right? They'll fall for the Emperor's trick in Return of the Jedi. We'll let the hate flow through us, and it'll make us powerful. And to a certain extent, it did. Democrats thinking that they are going to somehow win by escalating the amount of hatred in their hearts again is a pretty astonishing thing. Now, we're going to talk about how the media is gaslighting everybody on this issue in just 1 second. But first, let's talk about those credit card bills. So here is the reality. You've been racking up credit card bills, or maybe you have been. And the rates on those credit card bills are exorbitant. If you've been racking up credit card bills and you're paying interest rates that are 20, 30% because you haven't been able to pay off those bills, maybe it's time to consolidate that debt or pay off your credit cards with one fixed monthly payment. And that's where Lending Club comes in. They've helped millions of people regain control of their finances with affordable fixed rate personal loans. No trips to a bank, no high interest credit cards. Just go to lendingclub.com, tell them about yourself, how much you want to borrow, pick the terms that are right for you, and if you're approved, your loan is automatically deposited into your bank account in as little as a few days. Lending Club is the #1 peer-to-peer lending platform. They have over $35 billion in loans issued. Go to lendingclub.com/Ben and check your rate in minutes. You can borrow up to 40 grand. That's lendingclub.com/Ben. Again, lendingclub.com/Ben. All loans made by WebBank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Go check it out right now. Lendingclub.com/Ben. Consolidate that debt. Put yourself on firmer fiscal footing. Lendingclub.com/Ben. And let them know that we sent you with that /Ben. Okay, so as I say, the Democrats have decided to let the hate flow through them in order to defeat the Republicans, failing to recognize that it was Democratic hatred for Republicans that activated Republicans in the first place. And this is the part that's ironic. The Democrats think by being more militant, by being more angry, that they are going to get their base riled up and then they're going to sweep back into power. Well, they showed how militant and angry they could be over the last 2 weeks. And guess what happened in all the battleground Senate polls? They lost ground because Republicans looked at that and they said, oh, I remember why I was scared of you. I remember why I was angry at you. And here I am. I'm back, and we're going to vote this time around. Well, Mazie Hirono is joining the party. She, along with Hillary Clinton, is now a big fan of all of this mob sort of stuff. I like the train noise in the background. It really adds an ambient feel to this whole show. The momentum of a train moving forward. In any case, here's Mazie Hirono, senator from Hawaii, talking about how, well, if there's a mob, is that really bad? Because, I mean, the Republicans are all white supremacists anyway, so why not mob them?
Well, this is what happens, because when you look at white supremacists and all of that, this is what's coming forth in our country. There's a tremendous divisiveness in our country, but this is the kind of activism that occurs, and people make their own decisions. If they violate the law, then they have to account for that.
Okay, so fun to hear Democratic senators openly state that they don't really care about this sort of mob tactic. Now, the funny part is that the media have decided, the media may be smarter than the Democrats in all of this. The Democrats think they can activate the base, and the media think they can tamp down Republican response by pretending that none of this is happening. So as the mob is activated, as folks at the Women's March and folks at the ACLU and folks in Democratic halls of power start saying that it's okay to railroad a guy without any due process, and then to activate mobs to go and storm the Senate building and go and storm the Supreme Court. As they say all of this, the media maintain over and over that you shouldn't believe your own eyes. Who are you going to believe? Don Lemon or your own eyes? Who are you going to believe? Who are you going to believe? Brooke Baldwin or your own lying eyes? And this is the way they approach this. So last night on CNN, Matt Lewis and Mary Catherine Ham, both friends of mine, and both Republicans, are on with Brooke Baldwin, and they're talking about President Trump, who has labeled Democratic politics mob politics, which it is at this point. Listen to Brooke Baldwin try to spin away. I mean, it's amazing. Listen to her try to spin away the fact that mobs invaded the Hart Senate building and tried to intimidate people, and then went to the Supreme Court and tried to beat in the doors. Here is Brooke Baldwin, Brooke Baldwin doing her best to gaslight the American people.
Oh, you're not going to use the mob word
here. It's totally a mob. It is without a doubt. I mean, there's no other word for it. It's a go watch. Put up the video.
Mob. Stop.
Put up the video.
A mob is what we saw in Charlottesville, Virginia, 2 August ago.
No,
a mob is not what we saw chasing. I'm not saying what they did was right.
What about the people who were at the Supreme Court banging on the walls? What do you call that? Civil protest? Or is that a mob? I think it's easily a mob.
And there's Brooke Baldwin putting her head in her hands. How could someone call this a mob? Why would anyone call it? Because it's a mob. That's why. There's an article in the Washington Post saying Republicans try to recast Democratic protest as mob. We don't have to recast anything. It didn't take a lot of work at all. It said something like Republicans work hard to do it. Doesn't take any work at all because all we have to do is show you the video, show you the pictures. It's not just Brooke Baldwin. A lot of the anchors on CNN have dedicated themselves to the idea that the only sort of mob that's real is a mob of white supremacists in Charlottesville. It's the only mob we've seen in politics, really. We didn't see mobs in Ferguson. We didn't see mobs in Baltimore. We haven't seen mobs at the Supreme Court. We didn't see mobs at the Senate building. None of this was a mob. I mean, Occupy, those weren't mobs. The only mobs are right-wing mobs. And if you feel like people are driving you nuts, that they're gaslighting you and lying to you, that's because they are. Take, for example, Don Lemon. So Don Lemon last night, he had on a GOP commentator named Alice Stewart. And she was talking about President Trump, who's ripping on the Democrats as an angry left-wing mob. And here is how it went down. So Lemon said, so Alice Stewart said that calling these folks a mob was actually accurate, pointing to people who are banging on the doors of the Supreme Court and people who harass Senator Cruz and Heidi Cruz, as well as yelling at Jeff Flake and Susan Collins in elevators. And Lemon said, but that doesn't mean people don't get to object. That's your right as an American to object. It's covered in the First Amendment. It's like the first one. And then Lewis again chimed in and argued that anti-Kavanaugh protesters engaged in mob behavior, which they did. They went into the actual Kavanaugh Senate hearing room and they screamed until they were removed. They shouted until they were removed. That's called mob behavior, okay? So Lemon says, no, that's not mob behavior. It's people who are upset and they're angry with the way the country is going. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Mobs typically are angry and upset with the way a country is going. The reason the media are trying to cover for all this is because the media are beginning to realize that shouting at Republicans is not actually the best strategy for winning, and so they're simply going to try to convince you that the person who is shouting in your ear is not real. It's like Harvey, the bunny, the giant bunny. It's just imaginary. It exists only in your imagination. It's not a real thing. So the media doing their best to try and tamp down the perception of the public that Trump is actually correct about all of this and that Republicans are right when they say it. Mitch McConnell, of course, is pushing this forward. Mitch McConnell says, listen, this behavior and this Hillary Clinton comment about civility being out of bounds, this is unhinged stuff from the Democrats. And that, of course, is correct.
No peace until they get their way. More of these unhinged tactics. Apparently, this is the left's rallying cry. But fortunately, the American people know that the fact-free politics of hate, fear, and intimidation are not how we actually govern in our democratic republic.
Well, this is right. I mean, the Democrats acting like puerile children is not going to help them, and that's why the media are trying to convince you that's not actually what's going on. Rand Paul got himself in a little bit of Twitter hot water yesterday for comments that he made that are exactly correct. He said that political assassinations could rise in the United States. Somebody could be killed thanks to all of this vile rhetoric on the part of folks like Hillary Clinton. Now, listen, I'm somebody, go back and listen, who condemned this sort of aggressive rhetoric from President Trump in 2016. In 2016, the president of the United States, when he was just a candidate, when he was going to rallies and saying something like, punch somebody and I'll pay your legal bills, when he was doing that sort of stuff, I said, that's bad, that's ugly, he shouldn't be doing it. Well, Democrats are the ones doing it today. And it's just as bad. It's just as bad. And they're being more explicit about it, too. I mean, when Hillary Clinton says civility is not required with anybody on the other side of the aisle, it's pretty damn explicit. Rand Paul says this sort of stuff is going to get somebody killed. It doesn't mean that Hillary Clinton is going to get somebody killed, but the rise in temperature is likely to reach a boiling point at some point here. Rand says that he gets all sorts of flack for it.
I fear that there's going to be an assassination. I really worry that someone is going to be killed, and that those who are ratcheting up the conversation, those who are ratcheting up saying get in their face, they have to realize that they bear some responsibility if this elevates to violence.
And now people are saying, well, what about Trump? What about Trump? Okay, let's talk about Rand for a second, since Rand is the one who's making the comment. Rand Paul had 6 of his ribs broken by a neighbor who allegedly didn't like his politics and literally just tackled him on his property, requiring months and months of recovery. Rand Paul also happened to be one of the people present at the congressional baseball game where a bunch of Congress people were shot at and Steve Scalise was nearly murdered. So I think that Rand actually does have a certain amount of credibility on this particular issue. The direction the country is going is a really ugly direction, and it's got to be stopped. One of the ways to stop that, I think, is gratitude. Now, I know that this is a word that has gone out of style, gratitude. Why should we be grateful? Clearly, things are so bad in America, except things are not bad in America right now. Things are very far from bad in America right now. In just a second, I want to explain to you that not only are things not bad in America, things have not been bad in America for a few decades here, and all of the political motivation to try and drive us to anger and panic is completely overstated. But first, let's talk about your impending doom. Since we're in a dark mood, let's talk about your impending death. You're going to die. You're going to plot. And let's just face that reality. Now, prepare for that eventuality by going and getting some life insurance. You want to make sure that your family is taken care of in case, God forbid, something happens to you. And that's where Policy Genius comes in. They compare quotes from the top life insurance companies to find the best policy for you. It takes just 2 minutes to get a quote. And if you don't know anything about insurance, they've got all the tools to get you up to speed. You can learn the difference between term and whole life insurance, calculate how much coverage you need, and be sure you're making the right decision. Over 4 million people have used Policy Genius to shop for insurance, and they don't just do life insurance. They do disability insurance and home insurance and auto insurance. If you care about it, they can cover it. So whether you know a lot about life insurance or nothing at all, start your search at policygenius.com. In just 2 minutes, you can compare quotes and make an informed decision for you and your loved ones. Policy Genius is the best way to shop for life insurance. Go check it out. It's the easy way to compare and buy life insurance online. Policygenius.com. Again, if you are waiting to get life insurance, there's no reason to do so because who knows what's going to happen to you tomorrow. That's not a threat. That's a possibility. So go check it out right now, policygenius.com. I mentioned it's not a threat because I got a threat actually on Twitter today. Actually, well, not on Twitter. It was in the email from a guy who said that he wanted to behead me, which was kind of a unique email. I wrote on Twitter, "Good morning to you too, sir." But yeah, that's when people say they're afraid of the way politics is going. Yeah, I don't think that is completely out of bounds. With that said, the solution to that is to be kind of grateful for the country in which you live. It's hard to be angry at somebody when you're also being grateful. And we should be grateful. One of the great lies that's been perpetrated by both sides of the political aisle for political purposes over the last several years has been this lie that nothing in the United States has gotten better since 1979. And very often, folks, particularly on the left these days, like to suggest that wage stagnation has taken place since 1979 and that the American people are worse off for it. That globalization, liberalization, liberalizing trade rules, lower taxes, that these sorts of things have killed the American economy. That if we had just remained a high tariff nation with less free trade, then we would all be living better. But wage stagnation has led to tremendous suffering in the United States. There's only one problem. I'd like to ask you listening right now, do you think that your lifestyle would have been better in 1979? Really? These two things don't match up. Folks who say that 1979 was so awesome, that wage stagnation started then, and then wages have declined ever since, or they've at least remained static ever since for most people. Yes, but you are living a better lifestyle on those same wages. So what could explain this conundrum? Well, I think this is the most important article of the day. It's by a woman named Marianne L. Tupy at humanprogress.org. And here is what she says. She says, according to a 2015 report by the Economic Policy Institute, which is a left-wing think tank based in D.C., ever since 1979, the vast majority of American workers have seen their hourly wages stagnate or decline. This is despite real GDP growth of 149% and net productivity growth of 64% over this period. In short, the potential has existed for ample, broad-based wage growth over the last 3.5 decades, but these economic gains have largely bypassed the vast majority. Now, it is certainly true that average hourly earnings of production and non-supervisory employees in the private sector have barely changed between 1979 and 2015. In October 1979, average hourly earnings stood at $651, or $21.20 in 2015 dollars if you adjust for inflation. In 2015, average hourly earnings stood at about $21.18, which is slightly below the inflation-adjusted 1979 level. But we are forgetting three important factors, and this is the reason that you are living better today. It's the reason you have better stuff. It's the reason you have a bigger house. It's the reason why your lifestyle is significantly better than it was in 1979. One, expansion of non-wage benefits. People get all sorts of benefits that are not wage-related in today's economy. Second, a massive fall in the price of consumer goods. If you are making the same amount of money that you made last year, but all the goods are half as expensive, you can buy more of the goods. I mean, this seems pretty intuitive. If you can buy more stuff, why do you care what the number is on your wage? What matters is whether you can trade that wage for more things. And there's also been a rise in the price of services like education and healthcare. Those three factors combine to suggest that the problems in our economy have to do with government regulation, not deregulation. Education and healthcare are heavily regulated, and to suggest that trade has been quite good for an enormous number of Americans, even if it feels like it has not been. So here's what this article suggests at Human Progress, and this is right. In recent decades, non-wage benefits expanded. Today, they include relocation assistance, medical and prescription coverage, vision and dental coverage, health and dependent care flexible spending accounts, retirement benefit plans, group term life and long-term insurance plans, legal and adoption assistance plans, child care and transportation benefits, vacations, sick paid time off. It's not easy, writes this author, Marianne Topy. It's not easy to put an exact figure on the value of those non-wage benefits, but they could amount to as much as 30 or even 40% of the worker's earnings. So while hourly wage benefits may have stagnated, benefits certainly have not. The lion's share of non-wage benefits, as Cato's Peter Van Dorn wrote in 2011, is consumed by the dramatic increase in health insurance costs. He says the fixed costs of health insurance are a much larger percentage of the total compensation of lower earnings workers, meaning that you did get a raise, it just came out in your health insurance. Also, many, perhaps most, big-ticket items used by a typical American family on a daily basis have decreased in price. So they looked at Human Progress, they looked at the prices of common household items as advertised in the 1979 Sears catalog and prices of those common household items sold by Walmart in 2015. And remember, those products in 2015 are a hell of a lot better than the products in 1979. A washing machine made in 2015 is a better quality washing machine than a washing machine made in 1979. A car made today is a better car than a car made in 1979. All the products you're getting are better, and you're getting them for cheaper. Here's what they did. They divided the 1979 nominal prices by 1979 average nominal hourly wages, and 2015 nominal prices by 2015 average nominal hourly wages. And they calculated the time cost of household items in each year. That's the number of hours it would take to buy a washing machine, for example. So, for example, the time cost of a 13 cubic foot refrigerator fell by 52% in terms of the hours of work required at the average hourly nominal wage. So if you could buy 2 refrigerators for the price of 1, that makes you richer, regardless of what your top line income is. Needless to say, the above price reductions greatly underestimate the totality of welfare gains by the average American, ignoring qualitative, aesthetic, and environmental improvements on commonly used items. Again, those products are better today than they were yesterday. So it's pretty clear, it is pretty clear that when it comes to products that we can buy, we are much better off than they were in the 1970s. So where are we short? We're short in education, healthcare, and housing because the cost of those things has risen at a faster pace than total compensation. However, it is true that today's houses are larger, and healthcare is better, and education is more high-tech. It is also true that the reason that houses have risen in price is because of tremendous regulation on the part of Democratic administrations, for the most part, in major cities. The reason that you see housing shortages in Los Angeles, which is the most sprawling city in the country, I mean, it's where I live, is because of heavy regulation and zoning. So what is the standard of living? Well, it's certainly better than it was in 1979. For the vast majority of people in the American public, the average apartment is bigger. The average stuff you have in your apartment is bigger. The average house is better. The average stuff that you have in that house is better. All of that should suggest that maybe we should be kind of grateful for the country in which we live and stop trying to tear it down and stop trying to tear each other apart in the name of some utopian vision. And Democrats might be wise to start there, especially because the more enraged Democrats get, Republicans lag behind because we are not fond of the rage. But if you enrage us, when you awake that sleeping giant, it's not good for you electorally. It is not good for you. Okay, well, in just a second, I want to talk about the Democrats' failure to recognize that basic truth and what they are saying now about Justice Kavanaugh. But first, let's talk about your coffee. If you've ever found yourself wincing at the weak taste of coffee from a left-leaning corporate brand that worries about whether people can use their bathroom for free as opposed to buying a cup of coffee, well, you may have thought, I wish they spent less time on meaningless bias training and more time on making coffee that is good. And that's why you need Black Rifle Coffee. Black Rifle Coffee, the quality of the coffee is excellent. Not only that, the folks who stand behind Black Rifle Coffee are awesome. They are pro-veteran. They are veterans, many of them themselves. It is founded by former special operation vets, and Black Rifle delivers the best roast-to-order coffee now directly to your door. This guarantees you're getting fresh, premium coffee with every order. These are folks who are not politically correct, just themselves, and their coffee tastes like it would come from folks who are not politically correct, meaning it is strong coffee. It is not watered down. In addition to great coffee and gear, Black Rifle has a coffee club that makes things really easy. No lines, no running out, just great coffee, shipped right to your door every month, hassle-free. Plus, when you join that coffee club, you'll receive discounts and offers not available to other customers. Also, they give a portion of their sales to veteran and first responder causes, so you're doing something good every time you buy a cup of coffee from Black Rifle. Visit blackriflecoffee.com/Ben. Receive 15% off your order. That's blackriflecoffee.com/Ben for 15% off. blackriflecoffee.com/Ben. Okay, so speaking of the Democratic lack of gratitude for the country in which they live, which is driving a lot of anger, I want to talk in a second about a song that has now gone viral on Twitter and Facebook. We'll talk about it in just 1 second. First, you're going to have to go over to Daily Wire and subscribe. When you do, you get the rest of my show live, the rest of Andrew Klavan's show live, the rest of Michael Knowles' terrible show live. You get all of those things. Plus, for $99, you also get the Leftist Tears Hot or Cold Tumbler. Now, I brought it along with me on the trip and then promptly forgot it in the hotel. But that's only because I wish to protect it. It is that precious to me. I didn't want to bring it outside. I have to keep it in an actual shrine. I light candles next to it each and every day. That's how good this tumbler is, and you will enjoy it as well. Plus, when you subscribe, you also get access to the second season of Another Kingdom, which comes along with all of these great visual treats. You don't get those if you are not a subscriber. We have all sorts of good stuff that's happening behind the paywall over at dailywire.com. Go check it out. Plus, if you subscribe over at YouTube or iTunes and leave us a review, which I hope you will do, a 5-star review, that's the only type we accept, you'll also get access to our Sunday special. This week's Sunday special features business leadership guru and former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink, who stopped by.
How's it going? I'm Jocko Willink, and I am going to be on the Ben Shapiro show, Sunday special, this coming Sunday, where Ben and I talked about a wide variety of subjects, from parenting to politics to leadership and just about everything in between. Come and check it out. We'll see you then.
So it's a lot of fun. You're going to want to see it. Go check that out by subscribing at YouTube or iTunes. Again, leave us a review, a 5-star review if you so choose, and that will ensure that we continue to be ranked highly at iTunes. It does help with the rankings over there. Okay, so we will see you in just a second on the other side of this Facebook break. We're the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast in the nation.